how's the party going in Denver with the Broncos getting back in the playoffs?
Oh, we're partying, and it's awesome. And I know some people like Bo are waiting for next week when teams like the Broncos get weeded out. But here in Denver, we're having a lot of fun. After the game yesterday, it was just electric. I think starting with like the 2-minute warning, that's when Bo Nix told Pat Surtain he was going to take the victory lap, give the high fives to the fans. That's when they started playing jump around. On the video board, they're saying, the Chiefs don't actually play in Kansas. They play in Missouri. Talking about Chiefsaholic versus the Barrel Man. It was all sorts of good stuff. A lot of dancing, a lot of football players getting up into the stands with fans. It's just good vibes because the Broncos hadn't been to the playoffs since 2015. Nobody at all expected them to make the playoffs this year because, it's a rookie quarterback. You look at what they were last year, and then the difference between last year and this year is that you lost Justin Simmons. You lost Jerry Jeudy. Obviously replacing Russ with Bo. It wasn't supposed to go this way. And the fact that Bo was the one who was able, not you, Bo Nix was the one who was able to lead the Broncos in his first year as the starting quarterback to the playoffs. The vibes are just so good because you can see the upward trajectory. And at this point, you're playing with house money because in a lot of ways, yesterday was the Broncos Super Bowl. So they're champions right now.
Ride the wave, man. I don't think anybody was confusing which Bo was responsible for the Broncos'
Just making it clear
there. But and did you say Chiefsaholic, like the guy in prison for knocking over a couple banks too?
Oh yeah, no, they were going up showing the comparisons between the two cities, between the two teams, and one of them was, who's your fan? Broncos had the Barrel Man, Chiefs have Chiefsaholic. So.
It really is not a really story, though. It really is. I mean, 4.5 wins, according to the over-under as far as going into the season, less than the Raiders going into this year. Like, there was no confidence. You had, you were in salary cap hell. You just got rid of Russ. You brought in Bo Nix, who was the 6th quarterback off the board. I mean, who do we truly credit for this Broncos turnaround in their run back to the playoffs?
It's Sean Payton. I think that what he has done this year is incredible. And he's not going to win Coach of the Year. There are just some great candidates. You look at what's happening with the Vikings right now, although last night was a little bit disappointing. But what Sean Payton did this year was just remarkable work. And there's so many little details. You look at this week, Marvin Mims has the 2 touchdowns. Last week, he has the 2 touchdowns on the deep ball, including the jump ball between 2 defenders that pushed that game with the Bengals to overtime, gave the Broncos a chance to win. Marvin Mims was pretty much out of the rotation a month into the season. What does Sean do? Plays him at running back, gets him a little confidence, gets him a little momentum, and all of a sudden you're seeing him break out. And there's just so many stories like that. Players growing, players playing the best football they've ever played. And that comes down to coaching, because I still look at this team and say, you're as excited as we all are in Denver, you wound up with 3 Pro Bowlers. And there were some snubs, Zach Allen, Quinn Miners, some of those guys who should have gotten in. But to me, it's the coaching staff, and Vance Joseph deserves a lot of credit. The work that he has done on this defense. This is one of the best coaching jobs we've seen in Denver in a long time. It's almost like Wade Phillips back in the day, the Super Bowl 50 run, back when he was the assistant coach of the year, running that no-fly zone defense. Broncos defense has stopped just about everybody. They're stopping the run. They're getting the passers. 68 sacks this year, most in the NFL, an absurd number. Most in Broncos history, more than when they had Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware on the Super Bowl run. The secondary, turning Riley Moss, Jaquan McMillan, Brandon Jones, PJ Locke, guys who I don't think a lot of the viewers on the show still know who they are. Vance Joseph, Sean Payton, and of course, Bo doing his part. But again, I think that's mostly Sean too. The coaching has just been incredible.
All right, this is to both of you guys then, because you both know Vance Joseph. I'm already seeing this morning.
Yeah.
Jets are interested. The Bears might be interested in interviewing him. I don't know how seriously I can take that, but Hank, we'll start with you, since he's there in Denver right now, and of course was the Broncos head coach once upon a time. Well, if Vance Joseph were to get another opportunity, how do you think it would go?
I think he isn't the most exciting candidate. I think that he brings a lot of things to the table. Everybody who's played for him loves him. I guess everybody in Denver, I'm not sure if that's the same case down in Arizona. I wonder if he's the type of coach that could get a team over the top. he isn't a Nathaniel Hackett, though. I think that he'd be a pretty middle of the road type hire. I think his time in Denver didn't go well. That was also a time when the talent was declining because you're in that post Super Bowl 50 era, the quarterback questions. You're kind of watching guys like Von Miller age out and then get traded. Aqib Talib, end of his career. Chris Harris, end of his career. And the big thing here was that he wasn't allowed to hire his own coaching staff. That was all John Elway who hired his staff. So if you give him that power, you give him the experience he's had, the work he's done on the defense, to me personally, I don't love the idea of hiring a guy who focuses more on the defense right now in the modern NFL. It just seems like you kind of have to go the other way, especially since most of these teams are going to be teams that have questions at quarterback. He wouldn't be the top of my list, but he's more than deserving of these interviews, though. And he could steady the ship for a team that needs to be steadied.
Yeah, I actually echo what Hank's saying here. I mean, that when the Cardinals had a vacancy and VJ just finished his tenure as DC, there was a lot, including Budda Baker, that wanted him to get a shot at being the head coach. He's beloved by his players, no doubt about it. And also I'm always reminded of Sergio Dip, the ESPN announcer. Vance Joseph is having the time of his life back when he was the head coach of the Broncos. And I think Henry's right. I mean, he never got a fair shot. They were in quarterback purgatory during the VJ days there in Denver, and he never got a true shot at it. But I do think that there's a ceiling. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is his first top 10 defense of his coaching career. So it hasn't consistently been there. I think that he's a good coach as far as entrusting him as the head guy. And you got to imagine that there's a ceiling there as a head coach. But I think he can continue his success as a DC during his run in Denver.
All right, let's bring it back to the Broncos and what's ahead of them this week. Obviously, you get in the 7 seed. It's not the easiest matchup in the world. Having to go to Buffalo. And I don't know if it's moved. I did see 8.5 being the early spread in the game. What's the level of optimism? How are we feeling? I get the sense that it's house money and all that. But is there a realistic path to upsetting Josh Allen and the Bills on the road on Sunday?
I think there definitely is. Again, I think that a smart bettor would probably say, just give me the Bills to handle business here, because you look at what they've done on offense, what they've done on defense, the talent level, the quarterback, it's a home game for them in Buffalo. There are a lot of signs that point Buffalo's way, and you can't just discount any of that. To me, the path, though, is for the Broncos defense to get to Josh Allen. And you have to get to him while containing him, which is a tough thing to do in the NFL at this point. So if they are able to speed him up, if they don't let him escape the pocket, I think that kind of lays the groundwork for the offense to handle business. And I'm not sure what the strategy is offensively, because I think sometimes you look at a game like this and say, let's go heavy, let's get into 12 personnel, some power running, and just try to control the clock, stay in this thing, and then win it late. I also think that with Bo Nix playing the way he's playing right now, and the fact that throughout the season, a lot of his best moments, his best work has come from empty formations, empty shotgun formations. Do you just go out there and try to jump the Bills early and try to play with a lead? I'm not sure what exactly they do offensively, but everything certainly starts with the defense finding ways to slow the Bills down, which has happened at points this season. So there's a path. The Broncos beat them 24-22 last November on Monday Night Football. A great game. Cortland Sutton, incredible catches. It's certainly possible. 7.5 points, though, 8.5 points, that's probably fair.
Was that like the beginning and the end of the Russ days? Was that they beat the Bills? Was that going into the infamous bye week?
Yes, that was going into the infamous bye week. That was their third win in a row. They'd just beaten the Chiefs and the Packers, I believe. And then they continue that run. Would have had a great shot at the playoffs if they just could have beaten the Patriots in a game at home where they were 10-point favorites. And then they just would have needed to handle business against the Raiders. Would have been a playoff team last year. Instead, they were not, once again. That changed this year, though.
This Bo Nix, seemingly the guy. You feel like he's the guy, the future. I think he's proven that, right? Does it ease the pain of passing on Josh Allen for Bradley Chubb and having to face him and probably him dismantling the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, you used to get probably once a week, somebody in the mentions on Twitter would say, hey, they could have had Josh Allen. It's like, yeah, we all remember. That doesn't happen as much now. It's like once a month now. So things are going pretty well. He is the future. I think you look at yesterday, sure, it's a backup defense, but just the way that he played, like there was just like an aura about it almost. It's almost what Joe Burrow did to the Broncos the week before, where it's just like, this guy's open for 5 yards, bang, got him, bang, got him, bang, over and over and over again. And that's what quarterbacking comes down to in the NFL. And you look at Bo, well, he missed the one throw right before halftime. So he was 18 of 19 at halftime, finishes 26 for 29. That's just methodical. He's just carving that defense up. And again, those are backups for the most part. It's going to be different this week. But, when you're seeing coverages the way he's seeing them, that counts for something.
Yeah. I'm curious to see in this matchup if Nix can find anything downfield. I mean, Buffalo just loves to keep everything right in front of them. It's frustrating to watch if they're going to allow Nix, drive the ball downfield like he's done pretty well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm curious as well, especially because when they run those downfield routes, that's what's opening up a lot of the lanes for him to scramble. So you run those routes downfield because it opens up the passing underneath. It also opens up the rushing lanes underneath. And I think that in a game like this, you need Bo to run, because that's been the biggest surprise from Bo all season, is that he is as athletic as he is. And even the Broncos coaching staff has said, we didn't expect him to be able to move the way he does. So I think that you're going to need some of that. I think you're probably going to need to hit a couple deep shots, and Courtland Sutton is covered. Doesn't matter. You throw him the ball. But for the most part, it is just taking those 5-yard gains, and Bo's playing great ball. I mean, second most passing touchdowns of any rookie ever. The passing yards way up there. The total touchdowns also second all time. Like, by every statistical measure, this has been just an outstanding season from Bo. And the best part is he's getting better at the end. And so it's just so easy to get excited right now.
We all silly like the mayor.